Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time with dlYosh in the top right corner and SCAphel in the bottom left. It's going to be a red Zerg, which is a Fel, against the blue Protoss, which is Yosh, that's the one, Yosh. We are on Daybreak. Both players are in Masters. High Masters, Mid Masters, it just depends on your definition. In my definition, if you're Masters, you're High Masters, because I don't believe there's such a thing as Low Masters, because they're incredible. Yosh throwing down a pylon, looks like he's going to go for the fast expansion, which is pretty standard on Daybreak. Daybreak, you got that kind of wide choke. It's kind of awkward to wall it off, but it definitely can be done, and it's very standard to do it. This type of math really favors 2-base, 3-base play, depending on the race. We can see that Fel's already sending out his first probe to scout, just making sure there's no shenanigans going down from Yosh. You got to be always conscious of not cheese necessarily, but pressure that a player can put on with some of those proxy gates, some of those photon cannons, especially from Protoss, the door, and Terran, I guess. The doors just open up with the not all-in pressure, but pressure that you can get out of enemy bases. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, no early gas out of Yosh with just the pylon. It's surprising not to see any other tech structures going down. Both players are saving up quite a lot of money. It looks like Yosh has his probe in position to throw down a pylon to deny this expansion, but he's waiting to see that drone to make sure that that's actually something Fel's going for. That drone does come down, kind of intercept the probe's going to start poking around at him. Oh, look at this. Fel is throwing a hatchery down in Yosh's expansion. Hatchery there, he'll be able to cancel and then build an Evo chamber on the small bit of creep. You can see that there's a bit of creep started from the hatchery. So that's going to be a deny for Yosh, but then we also see that Yosh has thrown down a pylon, preventing the drone from creating the hatchery. This is a bigger deal for Yosh than it is for Fel. Fel's going to be able to pop up with a drone to the third and just take an expansion there because he was probably going for a 3-base anyway. But this is a significant delay to Yosh because he really wants to get that expansion up to get the harvester count in his favor and then start teching towards the structures that he wants to build. No photon cannon down yet to assist with taking down the hatchery, so he's going to have to rely on pure probes. Even one of them's not pulling his weight. He's just going to be derping along there. 2 gateways. With the forge finished, we can see that Yosh's probe has returned to set up dual pylons with a photon cannon tucked in behind. I think you might be able to do some damage, but in reality you're only going to be able to get 1 or 2 Zerglings on that photon cannon, making it so that this expansion is now well and truly denied. This hatchery is definitely going to get canceled, especially with the second photon cannon finishing. It looks like Fel's just going to spend take as much time as possible before it goes down. We can see that some good control out of Fel doing that evolution chamber trick. It's pretty easy to mess that up, but it will go down. Got to be careful. Those probes not being pulled back in time. Well, 2 of them do go down. 2 of them go down to those broodlings that come out of every Zerg structure that dies. We can see that that already weakened probe's going to get taken down or at least pushed away by the Zerglings, denying another attempt at photon cannon blocking an expansion. So that's some wicked pressure. Good control from Fel again, getting that cancel, not losing a bunch of money. We can see it's 300 for 500 minerals spent to deny an expansion, and it looks like the answer is just going to take a very exposed 4th up here. And when I say very exposed, I mean incredibly exposed. It's just going to be another door open for more pressure, that 2-gate pressure coming out of Yosh right now. These zealots are going to be able to come in and poke at these incredibly exposed hatcheries, and the response that's going to come out of Fel is going to be Zerglings coming from the main base, but with no speed done, no speed on the way. The response is going to be delayed, and these zealots are going to be able to do quite a lot of damage. 1 working on the 4th, at the 4th position rather. 2 working on the 3rd, and it looks like any pressure that was coming from Fel is going to have to be pulled back right now as this wall off is complete and a probe is in position to throw down the expansion. Neither player is mining from their expansion. The harvester count's pretty even, which is actually a negative for your Zerg. You expect the Zerg to be ahead in both bases and harvester count right now. But tech has been stunted on both sides. We can see it's just a 2-gate and a forge for Yosh, and it's just a spawning pool for SCAphel. SCAphel is going to be able to poke back these zealots, but not before they do some significant damage to this hatchery. It's so weakened right now that both of these hatcheries really have to be concerned about any additional zealots that are coming in. And with those zealots getting behind the mineral line, the Zerglings aren't going to be able to do the surround that they need. What SCAphel really needs right now is a handful of roaches. Just 2 or 3 roaches could really clean up everything that's coming out of Yosh, who doesn't have a cybernetics core down yet. And that pressure from the zealots could be really cleaned up by those, sturdy roaches, and they could also take down those photon cannons. The 4th falls. The 3rd was saved with some handy Zerglings, but now there are quite a lot of Zerglings out on the field, and we can see that Yosh has stayed one step ahead. He's not really producing a bajillion zealots anymore. He's not producing off that 2nd gateway. He's decided that the aggression did enough damage. He's denied the expansions for long enough. He doesn't need to get out there and do any more harassment, and he doesn't need to keep throwing minerals down. So the end result is you have a bunch of Zerglings that aren't going to be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to take down this wall. Well, they might, actually. Yeah, if these Zerglings decide to, they could probably take down this pylon, but with it looks like Yosh has come to the same decision. He's going to throw down a gateway and another photon cannon to complete that secondary wall behind these Zerglings. So this pylon will go down, but then that secondary wall off right there really will prevent the Zerglings from doing a run by, and it looks like the majority of them gone down. Maybe this gateway will go down, maybe they'll get access, but a tertiary wall off going up from behind, and the amount of Zerglings now, yeah, they're going to have to pull back. They're not going to be able to get into the probe line enough. Wall's going to be rebuilt. 2 zealots are going to poke up into the front door. It looks like we have a layer on the way, and still no roach warren out. Dual gas being mined out of SCAphel, who's finally gotten his 3rd fully mining. These zealots aren't going to be able to do too much damage, provided that this queen doesn't go down. She gets pulled back while the surround goes down by the drones. Good saturation on this expansion. We can see the harvester count heavily favoring SCAphel right now. Hopefully we can get that higher tech up as he continues to take that 4th. He doesn't want to take this 4th. He really wants to take his main, or his natural, but it's still denied by those photon cannons. I'm debating which one would have been a better expenditure of those Zerglings. Should those Zerglings have gone here to deal some damage to that wall, which ended up not doing too much damage, or should they have pulled back, taken down the photon cannons, which they definitely could have done? I'm not sure. I think in retrospect it would have been a better decision to secure the natural, but it was a decision made in the heat of the moment, and if it had worked out differently, if he had actually gotten into the probe line, then I definitely would have been singing a different tune. Twilight Council, we can see 2 gateways and a robotics facility. Twilight Council, maybe we'll see some Immortals and Zealots with charge. I love that build, especially when there's a bunch of sentries in place, because the sentries can do so much crowd control and preventing of surroundings, because the best play to counter Immortals, in my opinion, is Zerglings and Vesters. In a high enough number, the mass roach just dies from the Immortals so fast, even if they're better against any of the other gateway units. Finally, Roach Warren is out. These guys are definitely going to go to work securing that natural before we see any more aggression against Yosh. Yosh is getting that level 1 ground armor. Very heavily cost effective with those zealots against Zerglings with that level 1 ground melee. I apologize. Protoss weapon. Yeah. So those roaches gonna clean up these photon cannons with minimal losses. Finally secure that natural, which is something that SCAphel has wanted to do for quite a while, but just hasn't been able to get the tech out. And what's that going to mean is that SCAphel is going to be able to take a very secured 4th with this 3rd already up. We can see that he's thrown down some spine crawlers. No detection here, which might come into play later, especially with the Twilight Council already on the field. Dark Shrine is just 1 step away. We'll see if the next aggression that Yosh decides to play out is something along the DT's line, or if Yosh has bought enough time to get up a large enough army that he feels comfortable in pushing out with just a standard play. The Fester Pit coming up, we can see all the structures are being placed down in the main, making it kind of exposed to drop play. something I like to do is kind of switch up where I throw things down. The early aggressions made it so that both of the expansions that you could place tech buildings at are really poor choices to throw that stuff down. But it's still something to think about, maybe a creep termer to spread them out even inside the main, somewhere high, somewhere to the far left. As things stand now, though, I don't see a warp prism on the way yet, and so that type of aggression isn't something that SCAphel has to worry about just yet. What he does have to worry about is all of these sentries. They're just going to be banking energy that they can use to throw down force fields that can protect this huge swell of roaches coming in. Yosh reacting instantly, canceling that nexus before it could finish, before these roaches could bust down the wall and take it out. But it looks like SCAphel didn't want to take down that wall anyway, couldn't really cost effectively take down all those gateways, so he's going to push up into the main. And he's going to catch an immortal that wasn't protected by the force fields and take it down. That's a huge win for SCAphel. Even losing all those roaches, you still want to keep the number of immortals down. You want to deal with the army now before you get... I casted a game just recently that had 13 immortals in an army, and the roaches, even the max supply roaches, just melted away. Multiple roaches making it in, targeted firing down the sentries, which is a great choice. They're so delicate, and you can see how much damage those force fields do. You can see Robotics Bay coming out for Yosh. Good choice. Those Colossus are going to be able to do quite a lot of damage, but those Immortals continue to be the best and most cost-effective tool against those roaches, but only when in a significant enough number. Another Immortal going down, another huge loss for Yosh. They weren't protected by the gateway meat wall that you'd expect. These Zealots coming in just a couple seconds too late. Looks like these roaches are going to get cleaned up, but not without doing a significant amount of damage. And another swell of roaches coming in. So this third is definitely in trouble for Yosh. Streaming in reinforcements, spending quite a lot of money trying to defend it. And it looks like SCAphel is going to get repelled, but not without taking quite a lot of damage. Another round. These stalkers trying to kite those roaches back so that they can take damage from the photon cannons, with photon cannons to the north and the south. SCAphel is just in a bit of a bind, not being able to truly harass, having to be careful how far forward he pushes, pushing into the range of those photon cannons again. Two Immortals, they have to be careful too. Every time they step out of that gateway, they expose themselves to more roaches. One of them almost going down again. You can see the first Colossus on the way. Colossus really handy against these Zerglings, not so handy against those roaches. So it depends if SCAphel is going to continue mainlining out those roaches, or if he's going to switch up to the Zergling Infester. Yosh is in a good situation. He's in a position that he can counter both of those builds, but it looks like that third is definitely in trouble. These Immortals getting really exposed. One of them going to go down almost instantly. Another one already weakened, falls moments afterwards. And then a third, another huge loss for SCAphel. These Zerglings are going to try to focus down that Infestor, but I don't think, this guy survives with just 40 hit points. That's a small win for Yosh. It's a larger loss for him. We can see the resources lost currently favoring SCAphel, and it's Zerg versus Protoss, so that's a much larger gap than you would think just by looking at the number. Colossus out, does not have range yet, and with roaches on the field, this Colossus is in trouble. That meat shield isn't large enough to fully protect that Colossus, but I don't think these roaches are in a position yet with that force field down to take it out. He's got to be really careful with it. You thought an Immortal loss was big. A Colossus loss is even huger. They take forever to build, and they are quite expensive. These roaches coming in, Colossus a little bit overextended, is going to fall back, barely makes it behind the wall. Thermal Lance is about half done. I'll go half. I'll round up. Half done. We can see another Colossus is on the field, but that meat shield is just so weak right now. And the Colossus, once again, is caught just a little bit with his pants down, pushing out, trying to do damage to those weakened roaches. But with the meat shield falling very quickly, these Zealots do not have charge. They are not fast enough to get into position to prevent those roaches from pushing forward very quickly. But, the roach ball has, gotten smaller. Reinforcements are coming in slower for SCAphel. You can see that Afel's finally getting his natural back up, so it's going to be 4 base versus 3 base. In reality, Afel did not manage, even though he did manage to keep the army size down, he didn't manage to take out this expansion, which is what that whole fight was about. Income tab, pretty dead even. It'll peak up a little bit for Afel, but the infrastructure damage that Afel needed to do was to take out this Nexus. Definitely destroy that wall so that he could take it out later. Keep Yosh exposed. As things are now, Yosh doesn't have the army that he needs at this moment. He's got a very weak army, and he's extending himself into this common ground. If Afel can catch that army unprepared, he could basically 1A into that third and deal a killing stroke. But as things are now, it looks like both players are going to fall back, macro up, get some drones. Dark Shrine coming out, good choice for Yosh. He is behind. He needs to do some damage. His main is almost completely mined out, and Afel is grabbing a 5th. But with that 5th, he's going to get continually exposing himself to multi-prong harassment, which DTs just excel at. Those DTs are going to be able to split up and go to every different probe line and find those really juicy targets and take them down. I actually do not know where that Dark Shrine is. Where is it? I mean, it's warping in. I've probably looked at it 3 times. There we go. Down at the 3rd, the Dark Shrine. Finishing just now. Yeah, those DTs are going to be able to do quite a lot of damage if they can make it in. There's not a lot of detection. There are some infestors. Evo chambers are on the field, but there's no spores up. So, there's going to be a delayed response coming out of Afel, but he's got so many different bases up already that he's going to be able to take a hit. He can definitely take a hit in the amount of harvesters he has. Actually, he's behind in harvester count. That's weird. But he'll be able to get those harvesters out quickly with all those bases. He seems to have skimped on some of those drones in favor of high aggression, and you can see his army is pretty much maxed at this moment. But he doesn't have the reserves that you'd expect at the 24-minute mark. Both players' armies are rather dilapidated. The sentry count is much higher for Yosh at the moment, which is really good for him. He's got a lot of surrounding units to deal with, and the force fields that a sentry can throw down can really assist with that. Stargate is coming out for Yosh. That's more just to kind of open up further possibilities for build orders. He's probably going to commit to the Colossus build for a while, but he's worried about this Spire, which will be coming out for Afel. He's going to beginning to think about what his end build is going to be, which it appears to be a Corruptor Broodlord mix. It's a 0-2 for the Roaches right now, and 0-2 for the ground unit for the Protoss also. So matching upgrades, huge army battle right here. The force field's coming down. It looks like all the sentries have gone down. Some of the infestors getting exposed to the Colossus throwing down army, but there's no meat wall now. Again, the gateway units have fallen. I don't think they're being reinforced. It looks like he's only got 5 gateways churning out units, and 3 Colossus are going to get exposed. 1, 2 goes down, 3 goes down. This 4th one is just behind a couple of sentries, which are going to go down almost instantly. Yeah, there's a very small amount of roaches, but finally 3 DTs coming down. This Colossus is going to go down. Another huge loss for Yosh, but with the army completely destroyed by these DTs, they're now going to be in a position to go out and do some damage. So these 3 are going to go up into the top left corner, do some damage to that hatchery, which has a very small amount of mining units. Actually, the saturation is pretty small on all of the bases. These 2 top left corner, this one looks like he's going to go make it to the main, and then we have a 4th cutting down. 3 of them get scouted. It's interesting to see that there's no overseers being morphed in just yet. One of them got a hit off. So there is an overseer up already, and the DT is going to work on the spine crawlers rather than anything else in the base. I'd expect him to target down the hatchery because it's still, it's a mining base. Overseer coming, that DT gets taken down, but it looks like the 5th in the top left corner was finished up by these Dark Templars, taking down fair number of drones. We can see 52 to 71 and a huge income gap difference. Part of that's due to the saturation being so small, and this is really going to hurt FL's ability to re-macro. We can see that the amount of money both players has is so small, but that's normal for Protoss, not so normal for the Zerg. Zerg's definitely behind in the macro right now. He's done so well. He's very cost effective with his harassment, but his inability to macro back up to the army that he needs to in order to put pressure once that army was completely destroyed. He didn't have the money he needed to get out Roach. Just another wave of Roaches to come in and take out that third. Take out the fourth, which is now in the bottom right corner. Oh no, that's a fourth. That's a fifth. These two Dark Templar is going to come in, and with the Overseer just a little bit mispositioned, no spine or spore in the back, this hatchery is going to go down. Not the biggest loss in the world. The amount of resources there means that you could probably just distance mine the remaining minerals there rather than waste money getting it back up. Both players kind of struggling to get the army up that they need. Archon's a good choice, definitely cost effective against the build that FL is currently yielding, but we saw that the Greater Spire is finally up, so Corruptors are coming out on the field, Mothership coming up. We get that late game composition, which currently favors the Protoss. I feel like Protoss, even though he's taken a lot of heavy hits, that DT harassment has really done wonders for him, keeping FL back on the back foot, allowing him to get up this fifth in the bottom right corner, get out the money he needs with the harvester count advantage. Yosh is in a good position here. Broodlords are coming out, but with the Archons and the Mothership, as long as FL just takes a couple more moments to collect himself before pushing out, Yosh should have an army that is prepared to deal with that, especially with the High Templars and their feedback, being able to deal with the Infestors. There's not a lot of anti-air in this army, only 3 Corruptors, so that Mothership's not going to be exposed to any of the anti-air. No Hydras on the field. Hydras would get melted up by the Colossus. So basically Corruptors is what FL needs, and all of the Corruptors are being turned into Broodlords. And yeah, there's a significant number of Broodlords, 6 of them. Going to be able to do quite a lot of damage to this army once it decides to push out. But it looks like both players are waiting for max. Upgrades definitely kicking into high gear for Yosh right now. The Mothership finally does arrive at the same time. FL decides to push out with his army. Morphian and several more Overseers, maybe worried about those DT. Maybe he expects that Mothership. Huge battle right here. FL kind of pushing away, kind of shying from the engagement. Storm coming down, just taking out some of the broodlings instead of the roaches. A good number of Broodlords are going to be able to rain down fire, kind of push back the meat shield that Yosh has, but the majority of the damage is going to be done by the superior range of the Colossus in this battle. Everything else is just fodder. It's basically Colossus versus Broodlord and who can position their army correctly. Speaking of positioning, it looks like both players are going to be pushing in, taking out this destructible debris. You see warp speed for the warp prism is coming out, so maybe that's going to be the next path that Yosh takes for harassment. Again, with the amount of bases that both player has up, I expect a lot of multi-prong harassment, kind of keeping the other player on the back foot, preventing them from fully utilizing the death balls that both players are fielding. More Corruptors coming out. We can see how many are on the field. We have 9 on the field, which is a much better number, much better than to deal with the Mothership. Don't want to overproduce Corruptors, but again, those Corruptors can be used once the Mothership is down to take out those Colossus. So I feel like that's a good choice right now. These Zealots sent to their doom just in the top left corner, freeing up some supply for Yosh so that he can use just a little bit more money. It looks like a Warp Prism coming out with 4 DTs, so that's what that supply was spent on. Those DTs are going to be dropped into the main base, and that Greater Spire is so exposed right now. Nothing here. No Queen, no nothing. These DTs are going to take down the drones almost instantly, and yeah, they're spotted by the Overseer, but there's nothing in position to stop them from taking out that Greater Spire, which is going to fall instantly. Corruptors taking down the way out, but the DTs go to work on the lair. It's going to be interesting to see if that actually succeeds in falling, as we have the DTs beginning to be taken out by the drones. A big battle down in the central pathway. The mothership pushing forward, all the meat shields going down very quickly, but with a good vortex. Actually, it was not the best vortex. I don't think many things got grabbed, but it succeeds in pushing back SCAphel, which is what Yosh needed, throwing in his Archons into the toilet. It looked like the hive did not go down. One or two Broodlords were caught in that, but the Archons get taken down before they can really do the damage they needed to. Still, it kind of prevented the engagement from really happening. A much better vortex, taking out all of the Corruptors out of the game. That mothership was beginning to get focused down, which is a huge hit right there. I don't know how many Archons are in there, so I don't know how much damage is going to be done, but a good, powerful Psionic Storm goes down, dealing quite a lot of damage. The Corruptors focusing down all of the Colossus and the mothership. This army is going to get evened up. We can see the supply is currently 140 to 110. SCAphel has the advantage right now. He needs to push into this fourth. He needs to deal the damage he needs to. He needs to do something. Oh, he's just standing there. I don't know what he's waiting for. Waiting for 11 Infestors, maybe waiting for the Spire to come out, but he needs to press his advantage. He's got the superior roach numbers. He's got a couple of Broodlords still out on the field, and there's nothing that these Stalkers can do to stop him. This is so ripe for the taking. There's no static defenses. Instead, he's giving Yosh enough time to do another counterattack, get out some DTs to take out this hatchery, and this is going to cost SCAphel the game. He's so passive right now. It's so frustrating. So, that expansion goes down. Some DTs are making it into this fourth that, frankly, I don't know the numbers right now for those expansions. The army was pulled back to deal with it. Finally, SCAphel is beginning to push out, but he might succeed in taking down this expansion, despite giving Yosh enough time to get up some more Colossus. Spire is going to finish, so the Corruptors are going to be able to replenish, but the Broodlords are still going to be delayed for the time being. It looks like the attention is elsewhere for SCAphel. The army was split in half to deal with that drop. SCAphel is going to be able to clean up this aggression, but the number of roaches, the number of infestors have definitely gone down from that engagement. I don't see many Broodlords left. I think there were 6 initially. Now there's only 1. The amount of Stalkers has really done a number on the Broodlords, and now SCAphel could have easily taken this third. Instead, he's just going to barely make this attack cost effective. These infestors have really got to pull back as time goes on, as bases begin to get mined out. I think SCAphel is going to see his income drop even farther. The drone count is pretty stunted as things are, because of the harassment that is coming out of the DTs, because of his inability to protect his bases. And it's incredibly hard, don't get me wrong. I don't feel like he's mismanaging it. I think this is just Yosh being really good rather than SCAphel being bad or anything like that. But I feel like he's in a bad position, and he's allowed it to happen because he's been too passive with his units. It's okay to cut drones like he has, but only whenever you back it up with aggression. Spore Crawler is being built at this expansion, but it's not going to come in time to prevent that DT from taking out the hatchery. Another small army from SCAphel pushing in. It's going to get pushed back. The Corruptors not really having anything to fire at, and there's not enough roaches in there to deal with this heavy gateway unit. More DTs making it up into the main. They're going to start targeting down that weakened hive, and with an Overseer just now being warped into position, and there's no detection. They're going to instead focus down the Spire. It looks like the Stalkers are going to make it into this expansion. It's not really worth defending too much. The roaches are going to be able to push back this, I think, with the Spine Crawlers up in the north to defend against it. Miraculously, the hive survives. The Greater Spire does not, so that's down again. But the expansion here, there's not a lot of mining going on, even though there's quite a lot of drones. I think these drones would be better spent here, where the saturation is significantly smaller and the amount of minerals are present. SCAphel is in a bad position right now. He hasn't really succeeded in preventing Yosh from taking the expansions that he wants. Yosh is still mining, or is capable of mining from up to 3 or 4 bases, and Yosh has a very intimidating force. We're back to those immortals coming out to deal with the roaches. SCAphel's trying to be as cost effective as possible, but in the end, I don't think he's capable of producing enough roaches to deal with this gateway mix. This mix is going to come in, take out that hatchery, and be in a good position to either break up to the north and take out this fourth, or break down into the only mining base that SCAphel currently has. SCAphel was going to be able to take down this expansion, I think, but instead he decides to leave the game. Very frustrating loss, I'm sure, for him, because he did really good. I mean, he survived for 41 minutes, and that's quite an accomplishment. Some of those fights were incredibly tense, and the harassment that came out of Yosh. I mean, he did a photon cannon harass, a mass zealot push, or not a mass zealot push, but 2 zealots coming out of 2 gateways at a time, doing a lot of aggression against the exposed expansions that SCAphel had. And then he went up to the DTs eventually. So that's a lot of harassment out of Yosh. Definitely showing you what you do whenever a Zerg mass expands. Good game. Good game for both of them. If you guys have a comment, I'd love to hear from you. You could leave it here. You could leave it at Reddit. Whichever is more convenient for you. If you have a game you want me to cast, I'd love to hear from you. You could PM me here or Reddit. That'd be awesome. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary. I'll see you.